Overthinking is a silent killer of peace and productivity. It causes us to replay scenarios in our minds, question our decisions, and get stuck in loops of doubt. It's one of the most common mental traps we fall into, yet it's something the Stoics had an answer for centuries ago. The Stoics believed that our mental peace depends on our ability to control our thoughts. But how do we stop ourselves from spiraling into endless thinking? The answer lies in the Stoic practice of letting go and focusing on what we can truly control. First, we must understand the Stoic approach to the mind. The Stoics taught that our minds are the only things we truly control. Everything else, other people's actions, the events around us, the future, is beyond our power. When we overthink, we often lose sight of this truth. We start trying to control things that we cannot, like how others feel or how the world unfolds. But what happens when we try to control the uncontrollable? We suffer. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation of the Stoic mindset. You control your thoughts, your reactions, and your mindset. Everything else is outside your influence. Overthinking thrives when we try to control the uncontrollable. It's a form of mental resistance to reality. When we overthink, we're trying to predict the future, avoid failure, or gain reassurance from external sources. But this constant mental resistance is exhausting. The Stoics taught us that real peace comes when we accept things as they are and focus only on our internal response. Let's talk about acceptance. Overthinking is a way of resisting reality. When we don't accept what's happening, we try to change it in our minds. This leads to anxiety, stress, and of course, more overthinking. The Stoic solution? Accept what is outside of your control. Embrace life as it comes, without trying to force it to be different. This doesn't mean you have to like everything that happens. It simply means that you choose to accept it instead of mentally battling with it. The more you resist, the more energy you drain. The Stoics knew that peace comes from surrendering to the moment, even when the moment is difficult. The next step in letting go is to focus on the present moment. Overthinking often pulls us into the past or the future. We regret our past decisions, or we worry about what might happen next. But the Stoics taught that the only time we truly have is now. In fact, Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In the same way, mental peace comes from focusing on fewer things, more specifically, the things we can control right now. Every time you start to overthink, ask yourself, is this thought useful right now? If it's not, let it go. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't make plans or reflect on your experiences. The Stoics weren't passive thinkers. They practiced mindfulness and self-reflection. But they also knew when to stop the mental chatter and focus on action. Action is often the cure to overthinking. When we focus on doing something, whether it's working, exercising, or engaging in a hobby, we break the cycle of overthinking. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, anticipating the worst, wasn't meant to keep them in fear, but to prepare them to take action when things went wrong. What this teaches us is that action creates clarity. When we stop thinking about something and instead take concrete steps to address it, we stop spiraling into the what-ifs. We begin to move forward, and with each step, our worries fade. When you're stuck in overthinking, make a list of small actions you can take to move toward a solution. This simple trick can bring immediate relief from the stress of indecision. But what happens when you've done everything you can and the situation is still beyond your control? This is where the Stoic practice of amor fati comes in, loving your fate. Instead of fearing what's out of your hands, the Stoics embraced it. They didn't see hardship as something to resist, but as something to accept and grow from. The Stoics believed that every experience, good or bad, was an opportunity to become a stronger, wiser person. If you're overthinking something because you're afraid of failure, remember that failure is part of the process. It's not an end, but a lesson. Try this. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, can I control this? If you can, take action. If you can't, let it go. If it's something you can't control, focus on what you can. Your attitude, your response, and your next step. With time, this practice will train your mind to let go of the unnecessary chatter and focus on what truly matters. Overthinking doesn't have to be a constant companion in your life. The Stoics offer us powerful tools to stop it, focusing on what we can control, accepting what we cannot, and taking purposeful action. These tools are just as relevant today as they were in ancient times. By practicing them, you'll not only stop overthinking, but also gain clarity, peace, and resilience. If you want to learn more about how to master your thoughts and live more peacefully, subscribe now and check out my next video. The Stoic approach to dealing with criticism.